When it comes to dream matchups, few pit two harder men against each other than Marvel's Punisher and Judge Dredd. On one side, you've got Frank Castle, the ultimate urban guerrilla, a one-man war machine who's been hunting criminals with military precision and unflinching brutality for decades. On the other side, Judge Joseph Dredd, the iron fist of Mega City 1, the incorruptible lawman who is the law. But what makes this clash so compelling? It's not just bullets and fists, it's philosophy colliding head-on. Castle believes justice is personal. If you're guilty, you're dead. No courtroom, no trial, just punishment. Dredd, on the other hand, believes in the system. Flawed or not, he enforces the law without hesitation. To him, Frank isn't a hero. He's a criminal, guilty of murder 1,000 times over. And yet, when they fight, it's not just about ideology. It's about skill versus skill. Castle is a Marine Corps veteran, trained in black ops, demolitions, and every other weapon under the sun. Dredd is the product of the Justice Department, engineered, trained, and hardened in one of the harshest societies on Earth. Both men have stared death in the eye more times than they can count, and both refused to blink. That's why Punisher versus Judge Dredd is one of the great what-ifs in comics. It's the unstoppable soldier against the immovable lawman. It's raw vengeance versus iron order. And no matter who walks away, you know one thing. Neither man is going to back down. Judge Dredd first appeared in 2000 AD, March of 1977, created by writer John Wagner and artist Carlos Esquerra, with specific editorial guidance from Pat Mills. The publisher is Rebellion Developments, but originally it was IPC Fleetway Publications. This is a United Kingdom comic. In fact, Dredd is a British comics icon. Joseph Dredd is a genetically engineered clone of Chief Justice Eustace Spargo, the first and most respected judge of Mega City 1, and the father of the judge system. Alongside his brother Rico, Joseph was accelerated through clone training to serve as a judge from a young age. Where Rico fell into corruption, Joe remained the perfect embodiment of the law, executing his own brother to preserve justice. Mega City 1, a sprawling dystopian metropolis in post-apocalyptic North America, relies on judges. Elite enforcers who wield the combined powers of police, judge, jury, and executioner. Dredd rose to prominence as its most feared and respected judge, a relentless force whose loyalty is not to individuals or ideals, but to the law itself. Dredd has no superhuman powers. His threat level comes from skill, willpower, and training. He is in peak human conditioning, with extreme endurance, strength, reflexes, and resilience, honed through decades of combat duty. He's a master tactician, trained in urban warfare, counterterrorism, and crowd control. He boasts weapons expertise, proficient with all firearms and melee combat, and he's an absolute master of his personal sidearm. He has relentless willpower, unyielding focus on the mission, and virtually immune to corruption, intimidation, or compromise. Longevity. Genetic engineering and medical augmentation allow him to continue serving well beyond normal human lifespan. Judge Dredd sleeps only 10 minutes a day in his sleep chamber, and he never takes a day off. His signature equipment are the Lawgiver pistol, biometrically locked and can only be fired by Dredd. Multiple firing modes, standard, incendiary, ricochet, high explosive, armor piercing, and more. The judge's uniform includes eagle-shouldered badge, helmet, which he never takes off, and body armor designed for protection and intimidation. He also uses his day-stick club, a boot knife, and restraints, standard judge's tools for non-lethal enforcement. He also has bionic eyes, allowing him to see in the dark and to limit the need for blinking. Dredd does carry more than this in his utility belt. He also uses his Lawmaster bike, an armored combat motorcycle with AI, heavy weaponry, and high-speed mobility. Core trait, incorruptible devotion to the law. Believes the survival of society depends on strict, authoritarian enforcement of rules. Stoic, humorless, merciless in enforcement, paradoxically compassionate at rare moments. While Dredd is the ultimate cop, stories often frame him as both protector and oppressor, blurring the lines between justice and tyranny. Dredd embodies authoritarian control, raising questions about the morality of such power. Justice versus humanity. His strict devotion to law often conflicts with compassion or fairness. Many stories use Dredd to satirize politics, authoritarianism, and social issues through exaggerated dystopian extremes. Judge Dredd is one of the most enduring figures in British comics. Unlike most comic book heroes, he ages in real time, serving for decades, growing older, and carrying the weight of his choices. He represents both a critique and glorification of law and order authoritarianism, making him one of the most politically charged and unique comic book characters ever created. The Punisher. First appearance, Amazing Spider-Man number 129 in February of 1974. Written by Jerry Conway, designed by John Romita Sr., and drawn by Ross and Drew. Publisher, Marvel Comics. Frank Castle, born Francis Castiglione, was a decorated U.S. Marine Special Forces operative and Vietnam War veteran. His life was shattered when his wife Maria and their children were brutally murdered after accidentally witnessing a mob hit in New York's Central Park. Denied justice by a corrupt system, Frank declared a personal war on organized crime. Adopting the skull emblem as both a symbol and psychological weapon, he became the Punisher, a relentless vigilante who uses military training, guerrilla tactics, and sheer willpower to wage a one-man war on crime. Unlike most Marvel heroes, Frank has no superpowers, no mercy, and no moral compass. His mission is simple. Criminals must die. As with Dredd, Punisher has no superhuman powers, or bionic eyes. However, Punisher's lifespan has been extended after the Frankencastle storyline. Frank is in peak human conditioning, enhanced by military training, an expert in endurance, reflexes, and pain tolerance. His weapons mastery is such that he is proficient in virtually all firearms, explosives, bladed weapons, and improvised tools of war. Close quarters combat expert, trained in multiple martial arts and hand-to-hand combat techniques. Tactical genius, skilled in guerrilla warfare, infiltration, counter-surveillance, and battlefield improvisation. Unbreakable mental fortitude, and instills fear in criminals through his reputation and symbol. Frank boasts an arsenal of firearms, assault rifles, sniper rifles, pistols, shotguns, explosives. He adapts weapons to mission parameters. Frank has a Kevlar vest with a white skull emblem, intentionally painted as a target to draw enemy fire towards his chest. But he will often wear a full set of armor, similar to a bomb blast suit. Knives, traps, improvised weapons. Uses military cunning to maximize damage with minimum resources. Frank has tactical vans, motorcycles, and cars retrofitted for war. Judge Dredd embodies the system. His morality equals the law. He believes strict authoritarian enforcement is necessary for civilization to survive. Dredd himself isn't corrupt, but he upholds a system that is often oppressive. The Punisher exists outside the system, believes the law has failed, so he is the punishment. Defines morality on his own terms. If you're guilty in his eyes, you're dead. Completely rejects the idea that institutions can deliver justice. The contrast? Dredd equals order through authoritarian law. The Punisher, order through personal vengeance. They both believe the ends justify the means, but their means are rooted in opposite structures. Judge Dredd executes only when the law permits, uses standardized weapons and procedures, the lawgiver, and arrest protocols. He keeps collateral damage to a minimum where possible, but accepts it as part of maintaining order. He would see himself as a soldier in a chain of command, bound by codes. The Punisher executes anyone he deems guilty. No trial needed. Improvises constantly. Military hardware, street-level weapons, traps, psychological warfare. Mass collateral damage is acceptable if it eliminates criminals. He operates as a lone wolf, answerable to no one. So, would they get along in a bar? Short answer is no, but they'd respect each other. If Frank Castle walked into a Mega City 1 bar, Judge Dredd would immediately recognize him as a vigilante operating outside of the law. That alone equals arrest or execution. Punisher would look at Dredd and see him as a dangerous authoritarian cop, propping up a corrupt system. He'd probably think, this guy's no better than the mob bosses who bought off politicians, or one of the button men who just execute when they're told to. That said, both are hardened soldiers who have lived through war, death, and loss. Over a drink, they might share a grim nod of recognition as men who sacrificed their humanity to wage endless war. But the respect would last about 3 minutes, until Punisher admitted he doesn't answer to the law, and Dredd would stand up and say, "You're under arrest." At that point, the bar fight would erupt, and here's the kicker. Punisher would fight dirty, use the environment, and aim to kill. Dredd would fight by the book, restrain if possible, execute if necessary. The outcome would depend on the battlefield, but the philosophical clash is irreconcilable. So here are the rules of engagement. Judge Dredd is bound by the law above all. He only kills if a crime justifies capital punishment or, if necessary, in the line of duty. Starts with arrest, escalates to lethal force if resistance is extreme. He will announce charges before acting. You're under arrest for yada yada yada. He's tactical, but predictable. His procedures are known, and he rarely improvises outside judge protocol. The Punisher, meanwhile, is bound only by his personal mission. He kills without hesitation if he deems the target guilty. No interest in arrests, only eliminations. No warnings. His first move may be a sniper shot to the skull or a car bomb. Entirely unpredictable. Adapts tactics mid-fight based on opportunities. The key contrast here is Dredd equals escalation within the law, and Punisher equals immediate maximum violence. The endgame of this. Judge Dredd's goal is the order restored, the criminals arrested or, if beyond redemption, executed. Clean resolution. The Punisher, the goal is enemy destroyed. The criminal is dead, their operation crippled, and survivors terrified. Very messy resolution. In combat against each other, the Punisher's advantage is ruthlessness, improvisation, unpredictability. He doesn't follow rules, so Dredd cannot anticipate his moves easily. Dredd's advantage, however, is superior equipment, more training in law enforcement tactics, and backup from Mega City 1's infrastructure if needed. However, it will be negated. He will not be able to call for backup. It simply wouldn't be fair. And let's be realistic, you don't want to see that either. Punisher will go for lethal shots, while Dredd will try to incapacitate or restrain first. The setting. Pier 27 Mega City 1 docks. Smoke rises from the crates and the water shimmers under a dim, flickering overhead light. Punisher's van is parked, riddled with bullet holes, and bodies of the Magia crew lay scattered. The smell of gunpowder and sea salt fills the air. Judge Dredd descends from his Lawmaster Mark III, boots hitting the metal pier. He walks several steps along that pier, scanning the carnage of the environment. Ahead, on an overlook, Frank Castle reloads a Sterling Mark VI, unfolding it for use. Punisher, stop. You are under arrest. The charges? Unlawful execution of citizens, murder, possession of unauthorized weaponry, vigilantism, obstruction of justice, and resisting arrest. I'm here to take you in. I know. I monitor the same police bands you judges use. That is also a crime. Put it on my tab. Initiative rolls will be done once in the beginning of the game, right now. Judge Dredd's initiative is twice as high as Punisher's initiative. But when I roll, Punisher wins initiative. Punisher is acting first every round. Punisher fires his Sterling Mark VI burst, 5 damage per hit, needing a 36 plus to hit Dredd's armor. He rolls a 36, a hit. 5 damage times 3 bullets in a burst equals 15 damage. Dredd's armor around his body is 10. The head is 20, but he didn't hit the head. Dredd's health begins at 110. He now has 105 after 10 points are absorbed. Dredd draws the Lawgiver SE rounds. He's a weapon specialist, so he's +2 to hit with his high agility. He needs only a 26 to hit against Punisher's armor, which is also 10 points, and nothing around his head. My roll is 35. It's a hit. 30 points of damage. 10 armor absorbed. so Punisher's health goes from 100 down to 80. Lawbreaker, face the law. Punisher returns fire, but with no intention to hit. He tosses a pair of M88 fragmentation grenades as he ducks into the warehouse. Only one can be aimed, the other is just to distract. Just like the cover from his Mark 6, he needs a 36 or better, and he rolls a 78. That's a bullseye. Dredd tries to duck the grenades but only avoids one of them. Frank lands the grenade right at Dredd's feet. That's 30 points of fragmentation damage, reduced by 10 points of armor. So Judge Dredd takes 20 points of damage, bringing his 105 health down to 85 health. Come on up, Judge! Dredd walks into the warehouse, following procedures and scanning for danger. You're coming with me, voluntarily or not? Punisher, a level above Dredd, comes around some crates and fires down with his M16A4 right at Dredd. The normal damage is 10. But Frank is using uranium-tipped bullets, which adds to the damage, making it 30. Dredd is not surprised because he was watching this time for an ambush. Punisher needs a 36 to hit, and I roll a 62. Standard hit. Dredd's armor absorbs 10 points of it, but he still takes the 20 damage, bringing his 85 health down to 65. You can't stop me, Tin Man. Dredd switches to his Lawgiver AP rounds. He only needs a 26 to hit. He rolls a 17 and misses. But these armor-piercing rounds smash through the crates and splinter the area, forcing Punisher to duck. Assault on a judge. This upgrades the charges. Punisher throws a smoke grenade at Dredd. Indoors means automatic success. The pier's about to get messy, Judge. Dredd switches Lawgiver to RC rounds. He needs a 26 or better to hit. He rolls a 31. That's a hit. No damage, so Punisher's 80 health remains the same, but these are ricochet rounds, rubber bullets that bounce everywhere, and Punisher resists the stunning effect of the ricocheting bullets, but he's forced to run to avoid more of these rubber bullets bouncing around. Your crime ends tonight. Punisher fires his M16A4 again at Dredd. He needs a 36, but Dredd knows what that weapon can do now, and he takes cover. He can see and breathe just fine in the smoke due to his helmet and his bionic eyes. Punisher rolls a 14, and he misses. Dredd switches back to AP rounds, fires rapid fire, 3 rounds, each doing 30 points of damage. He needs a 26 or better. He rolls a 22, a 35, and a 10. One of the 3 bullets hits. The Kevlar absorbs 10 points, so Punisher's 80 hit points goes down to 60. You've misjudged the law, Frank. Not misjudged. Just persistent. Punisher fires a Browning 9mm. 4 rounds, normally 10 damage, but they're dum-dum rounds, so they add 5 damage to each. He needs a 36 or better to hit. He rolls a 37, a 21, a 78, and a 55. He hits 3 out of 4 times, 15 damage each, but that's only 5 damage each after the body armor. So that's a total of 15 damage. Judge Dredd's health goes from 65 down to 50. Dredd finds the stairs and charges with his daystick. 30 points of damage and only needs a 26 or better to hit. He rolls a 65. That's a hit. Punisher's armor absorbs 10 points, but his health goes down from 60 to 40. The Punisher is also slammed from the powerful attack with a roll of only 61. He gets tossed 10 feet into some crates and falls over the other side of the wreckage. No additional damage due to his armor. You're not taking me in, Judge. I'm no longer planning to. Punisher switches to his Browning auto rifle. 2 shots at Dredd. At this range, he only needs a 26 or better to hit, and he rolls a 34 and a 77. Both hit. Damage is 10 times 2, so 20, minus 10 points of armor, and Dredd's health goes from 50 down to 40. This is what happens when you mess with my city. Dredd stalks forward, pushing wooden boxes and debris aside. He's ready with his daystick, but he moves aside a crate to find a block of C4. It blows up in his face. Remote detonation. Before he can throw it far enough away, his helmet absorbs the 20 points of damage from the 1-pound block, but he fails a stun roll. He rolls a 44, so 1 round of stun. Punisher runs in and starts CQC with his K-bar knife. 10 points of damage per hit. His superior fighting plus knives talent needs a 21 or better to hit. He rolls a 12. That's a miss. Damn it! Dredd cannot act this round due to the stun. Punisher uses the knife again. 10 points of damage, but he needs a 21 or better to hit. He rolls a 58. That's a hit, but the armor absorbs the 10 points of damage, so Dredd's health stays at 40. However, this hit would have also been a stun, but Judge Dredd rolls an 82 to resist the stun attempt. Dredd strikes with the day stick. 30 points of damage if he succeeds at a 26 or better hit. He rolls a 55. That is a hit. 30 points of damage minus 10 points of body armor. Punisher goes from 40 health down to 20. Punisher realizes he can't hurt Dredd in hand-to-hand, so he runs out onto the landing he started at and jumps off into the water. Stop resisting! Dredd switches to his lawgiver with HE rounds. That's 30 points of high explosive damage. He needs a 26 or better to hit. He runs out onto the landing in hot pursuit and triggers a claymore Frank had set up before Dredd arrived, but it's not even aimed directly at Dredd. So he only takes 20 damage, 10 absorbed by his armor, so he goes from 40 health to 30. No, the claymore was actually meant to just destroy the landing. Dredd falls into the water, but not safely. Frank stands at the edge of the dock, holding a lit Molotov. By the time Dredd notices the smell of the fuel and sees the tipped-over gas can, Punisher says, "One batch, two batch, penny and dime," and Frank tosses the Molotov.